Okay, so we are back again. I am recreating this Theremin Google Doodle, okay, which is glowing orb moving through these different squares to play different notes. All right. So far I have now broken my canvas up into different squares, and I have my glowing little orb here to go with it. So now I'm going to add some sound to it. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to make my oscillator object. So I make my variable for that, and then inside that variable, I'm going to store my oscillator object. Okay, I'm going to keep it as a sine wave. I'm going to do osc.start. Okay, because as that Google Doodle, there was no key press or mouse press or anything, it just stays put, so I'm going to stay consistent with that. Okay, so at least I have my oscillator there. All right, so next what I'm going to do is I need to make it so that each time I'm in a different square, it has a different note. So first what I'm going to do is, similar to the xylophone project, I'm going to make an array called notes, and inside of that I'm going to put some MIDI notes. Okay, now in this one here, it starts on G. Okay, so I need to go in there, and I'm gonna do a quick search, MIDI note G, and see what I get. Okay, so this gives me sort of a MIDI key number chart. So there's G, and it's like 55 or 57. I'm gonna do 55. I think will work fine. So I'm gonna start on 55. Okay, and then obviously I could just refer, so G, then A, then B, then C, then D, so you could kind of go here, G, 55, then A is 57. It's doing a major scale. I happen to know how this is going to break down, so I'm just going to kind of speed through it, but you can sort of check the numbers just to make sure, but that should be correct. Okay, so now I have all these notes here in this array. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to make, I'm going to need to access each one of these notes by the index. Okay, so we've talked about that. That was in a lesson we did for Sonic Pi about making the drum beats just this week, and then I did another lesson when we made the xylophone about what index variables are, or array indexes are, so you can go back. I'm not going to get into that, but this would be index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so what I want to do is when I move the mouse, I want the mouse to represent, okay, this is the first square, the second square, third square. Okay, I'm going to comment this out for now while I'm putting this all together. Okay, but basically, okay, when I'm here, this would be the first note in the array, this second note, third note, fourth note, okay, and referring to those by the index. So what I need to do is I'm going to make another variable in draw. I'm going to call it n. Okay, and here I'm going to use the map function. So I'm going to map. Okay, I'm going to map the width, or I'm sorry, I'm going to map mouse x. Okay, so taking from mouse x, remember map takes the variable, then the range of that variable, so mouse x can be from 0 to the width of the canvas, and then I create a new range that I want that to split into, which would basically be between 0 and 8. Okay, so starting at 0, and then I have 8 sections here in that. Okay, now here's the thing though. When I do this, between 0 and 8, map will always include decimal point numbers. Okay, so it would, and just to show you, I can do a console.log n here. Okay, and you can see as I move across, I go from 0 to 8. Okay, but I get these decimal point numbers. Now if I'm trying to access the index of my array, I just need whole numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If it says what's the index of 1.5, that's going to confuse the program, because I'm not going to get a number out of my array that way. Okay, so I need to add one more thing to this, and that is called floor. Okay, so floor is basically, I'm going to take this entire mapped variable and just throw it inside of this floor, and what that's going to do is floor basically just anytime you have decimal points, it's going to floor it, or basically round it down to whatever number it is. So there's one that you can round up and down with, but I'm just going to make this consistent and always round down. So if it's like 8 or 5.3, it'll make it 5. If it's 5.9, it'll still make it 5, and that keeps it a little more consistent. So now if we look at that console, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and over here would be 8, but I don't need the 8 in my index, so that is now what I am looking for. Okay, so now all I need to do is osc.freq, okay, which will change the frequency of my oscillator object, which I've called osc. Okay, and in here I need to use the MIDI to freq function here, because an oscillator takes hertz, but this MIDI to frequency will convert any MIDI numbers into hertz. So now in here I'm going to write notes n. Okay, so putting notes is the array, and then n would be the index. So again, just to show you without that for a second, if I had notes 0, oh, let me start this up again. Okay, that would be the first note in my array. If I had notes 1, okay, notes 2. All right, so you see how that works. That's just 0, 1, 2, 3, but now because I want it to move, I'm going to make it n. Okay, so I got that working. I'm very quickly, because this is theremin, if I move up and down, it's going to change the volume, so I'm going to do amp, make a variable here. I'm going to say map mouse y from 0 to height. And remember, the top is 0 and the bottom is height, so I'm going to flip between amp 1 and 0. So this will give me a range of the amplitude between 1 and 0. And then I can just throw down here, I'm going to do osc.amp. Inside this, I'm going to write amp. Okay, and delete. So now I have my theremin working. The last thing I'm going to do is just add some text, because in the Google Doodle we do have the actual notes in there, and text isn't something we've really worked with, so I'm going to show you how to do that very quickly as well.